Louisville's new rock alternative, 105.1. It is PK, and I kind of want to steal your drink here, Fred, but
You don't need it.
I mean, it's always nice when I show up to an interview and either I have bourbon, the guest has bourbon. As long as there is some sort of whiskey around, then I'm a happy person. But I got Fred Minnick here, and Fred, say hello to the wonderful people of Louisville. First off, welcome to Bourbon and Beyond.
Welcome to Bourbon Beyond, Louisville.
I do want to talk about just we do radio, but you have your podcast. You're about to launch season 3 of your podcast, so get into it a little bit. Like, explain to everybody what it is that you exactly do with your podcast, and then what people can expect coming up in season 3 here.
So the Fred Minnick Show is pretty simple. I drink bourbon with celebrities, and we talk about their careers. Some of my past guests, Peyton Manning. I basically scolded him for coming out with a bourbon too expensive. Ludacris literally slammed a $15,000 bottle that we sent him. This season 3, we're launching it with Maynard James Keenan, the lead singer for Pucifer, Perfect Circle, and of course Tool.
Yeah.
And we went down to his place around the Super Bowl and interviewed him. And we also have Graham McTavish, one of the stars in The Witcher, Outlander. Got Bad Religion. Have Amanda Vance, the sports bookie. What's Brandy Roderick?
Brandy Roderick, yeah.
Yeah, Brandy Roderick is going to be on the show, Baywatch star.
Yeah.
Have a lot of guests lined up. And what we noticed is, since we started this right before the pandemic, but at the time when we started this, that celebrities didn't have any whiskey brands, and now every celebrity has a whiskey brand. They're all want to come on the show, and we're actually saying no to a lot of people because they want me to just promote their stuff. But
well, I mean, it does get kind of a little bit intense after a while, where it's like, if everybody has it, it's like, there's only so much time that you can kind of dedicate to doing all of those things. And, you also don't want to be like, oh, your brand kind of sucks or anything like that for anybody.
I mean, I have no problems telling someone that their shit sucks. That's kind of like how I've made my career, is being honest.
Yeah. So I do want to ask, just because, we're talking about some of the guests and some of the upcoming guests and everything, but when you go back to the first couple of seasons, was there anybody on the show that really, really surprised you, either with just their knowledge about whiskey or their actual, what they actually enjoy most out of whiskey?
Yeah. Charles Woodson, who's an NFL Hall of Famer and, Heisman Trophy winner. That dude has one of the best palates of anybody I've ever tasted with. Also, Ian Somerhalder, who is Vampire Diaries actor. That dude's got, wherever he goes, there's legions of people stalking him. He's one of those super beautiful humans. We've become friends, but his ability to blend whiskey is holy shit. You're an incredible blender. He's wanting to give up acting just to blend whiskey full time. And then I did, I try to get people who are relevant in pop culture. And I had Cole Hauser on the show, who plays Rip in Yellowstone.
Yeah.
And he said some things on the podcast that kind of caught me by surprise, and it trended. And sometimes those things happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's got to be nice when you have a guest that actually knows, somewhat what they're talking about when, you're doing that. Or is it actually more fun when they have zero knowledge and you're almost, bringing them into the world and, kind of, opening their eyes a little bit more?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the hardest thing for me is when somebody doesn't want to be there. They're just there because they want access to my audience, and I've had that. Yeah. I've had people on a promotional tour, and I'm just a stop right before they go to the Today Show or something. That frustrates me, and I've had those, and I've cut them. They're not a part of my net. I just I don't even air them.
Yeah.
And then I've had those who just want to get drunk. I don't like that either. So that's the only thing that I don't care for. But I love the people who want to learn, and I love the people who already have learned a lot and want to learn more.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, so I've been in Louisville now for almost 5 years, and when I came here, that was one of my first things was like trying to, have more of an appreciation of different kinds of whiskey, the different kinds of bourbon, and all of that. So now it's become like a major thing for me, and like I turn into like I don't want to say like the snob, because like that's not the right word, but it's like I also try to tell people, be like, no, like you just need to find one that matches like your taste. Like they don't all taste the same; they all have something different. And with the podcast, I'm sure you can find a whole bunch of different ones, and people that might be able to discover some of those different tastes and the different brands that they might enjoy. But tell me a little bit about, you got the blind bourbon happening tomorrow here at Bourbon and Beyond. So tell me a little bit about what you're going to be doing, and I honestly forget what time you're doing it. So let me know what time, and then let's talk a little bit about blind bourbon.
Yeah, so Blind Bourbon is on the Bourbon stage Sunday at 6 p.m. And so we're the last show of the last act of the Bourbon stage. And basically all weekend people can go and vote for what their favorite bourbon is on site.
Yeah.
And I will take the finalists, the top 5 of that, and taste them live on stage and pick what I think is the best in show. And they'll get a trophy from my Ascot Award. So it's like a trophy from the same people who make the Oscars. So it's a really nice trophy. Yeah. And it'll have best in show for Bourbon and Beyond.
I love it. And I did see that, I think you posted it to Twitter maybe, that, I mean, all the major brands, they're getting their asses kicked, aren't they?
Yeah, right now, the major brand, I think after that tweet, they started getting it in gear. Yeah. But the votes have been coming in, and it's pretty even, but the leader in the clubhouse right now is Jack Daniels.
Okay.
So
all right.
I don't know if that's because we have a lot of Jack Daniels fans here, or if they're just pushing people to go vote.
I mean, they could be. They do have a couple of tents here at Bourbon and Beyond, so maybe their staff is secretly taking their shirt off, putting a different one on, going and voting a bunch of different times.
Also, there is like an enormous amount of support for some small brands like Doc Swenson's. Peerless has gotten some love, so I mean it's close.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing who the ultimate winner is, and even all the finalists too. I mean, like, there's going to be a decent amount of very good bourbon that's going to be up there. So I'm looking forward to that. Again, 6:00 tomorrow, which is Sunday, here at Bourbon and Beyond. And one last question for you, and I'm sure that this is the number one question that you get. Yeah. So I won't make it your favorite bourbon unless you do have a favorite, but just a couple of favorites. Like what are the easy go-tos that you would recommend, for somebody who's either just getting into bourbon or somebody who is like deep into it and they want like, this is something that's going to be like something they'll really appreciate.
Well, there's a couple. If you are a veteran bourbon drinker, there's a couple that I really recommend all the time. And that's Russell's Reserve 10-year-old, Old Forester 1920, and Four Roses Single Barrel. Those are all between $30 and $50.
Nice.
And they vary in proof, but also they have a lot of bang for your buck, as I like to say, a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
For someone on a budget, a super important budget, Evan Williams Bottled and Bond is fantastic. It's $15-20. But if you're just getting into bourbon, you gotta figure out what your style is, and you can't just. What happens is someone gets into bourbon, they get a recommendation from someone like, oh, they don't like that, but they're like all the way in left field with the recommendation.
Yeah.
And they prefer something sweeter or don't like sweet, they like spicy or they don't like spicy. So I think a really good starter bourbon, there's 2 of them, Woodford Reserve and Maker's Mark, are both very, very good down the road, down the middle starter bourbons.
All right, I'm here for it. I mean, they're all good to me, and I'm definitely more on the sweeter side when it comes to bourbon, but I'll try pretty much anything. So I'm definitely a fan. So Fred, I appreciate you taking the time, man. I'm looking forward to the show for tomorrow to see who the finalist is, and I'll as long as it's not way outside my budget, I'll probably go and get a bottle after. But so we'll see how that all turns out. And one more thing before we wrap up, where can people find more info for the show and get in touch with you and follow along with the podcast?
Yeah, I think real simple. Just look for me on social media. My name, Fred Minnick. That's FredMinnick.
There you go. Fred, appreciate the time, man.
Absolutely.
We'll have some bourbon together. It's going to be a good time.